All right, so this is Intermediate Sketching Lesson 2. We're on the same Autodesk website, autodesk.com, Products, Fusion 360, Learning, Training, Tutorials. So this is our Intermediate Sketching. If you click on this hands-on exercise, over here the exercise will highlight, and it's pretty short, 6 slides. So what we're going to do is create this iron as a sketch. I opened up a new document in Fusion 360. I named it Sketch Lesson 2 Screencast. So what I've got here is the actual project already completed, and I'm just going to walk through doing it again as a second sketch. So if we take a quick look at our instructions, the first thing it says to do is to determine the order of the entities you want to create and get comfortable with using some more advanced tools. Our second slide starts off telling us specifically what to use. So we open a new document, that's already done. I always start by choosing the top plane for sketches so that I'm looking down at it from above, and then sketch the two entities that are pictured below. So or to the side. So we've got this rectangle over here and a circle up above. Come over. Right, we can just click on the rectangle that's visible. Decide upon a length and a size. It's not too important. We'll go 1/2 inch by 5 inch. And then on the keyboard, if I click C for circle, I don't have to snap on anything else. I can just choose the size of a circle and good to go. So I've got my two entities done. I don't think they look quite as proportionate to what's been done in the lesson. So if I hit D for dimension, I can click on this line, snap it up, and make it 10 inches. So it's a little longer. So that's a little too long. Click on the 10 again, make it 7 inches. Kind of split the difference a bit. So now if we move back to the next screen or next slide, it'll tell us to connect the sketch on the left sides with one single line from the corner up to the circle. And then to complete the body of the iron, add 2 lines and an arc. Make sure a parallel constraint is used in between the horizontal line on the top of the rectangle and the top of the body. So if we flip back over, we've got one line, so L for line. Pick the corner of the rectangle, and you'll actually see the blue X highlight, so that you know that you're going to intersect with the outside of the circle. If I hit L for line again, and I hold to make sure that that blue X shows up, I know I'm on line with touching the side of the rectangle. Pick whatever line I want, and you can see the two blue hash marks that are showing up. That's telling me that I've got it parallel to the rectangle below. Now I'm going to bring this over a little further. I'm just going to pick a generic point. The next tool we're going to use is an arc. It's a 3-point arc. So if we click on the end of that line we just created, and then we click on the side of the circle, we can snap and finish creating our body. So from there, we can go back to where we're at. We want to make sure that we have the parallel symbol, which you can see right here. There's telling us that these two lines are parallel with each other. Our next slide tells us to make a 6-point spline. So a spline is kind of like a free-flowing curve. It's not quite as exact as standard CAD techniques, but what it lets us do is kind of draw on the fly and come up with a shape that looks something like what we saw. And we double check, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's how we know we have our 6 points. And we're going to try and move them around and make it so it looks just like that handle, okay? So when all of these green dots are showing up, you can grab an individual dot and you can just modify your shape and come up with something perhaps a bit more artistic than you'd normally be able to. If you just move these all around and drag them in different directions, you can kind of keep working at it until you get the same shape that they have in the lesson. We'll call that good for now. We switch back and we'll go to our next slide. Now asks us to put a circle snapped at the center point of the original larger circle. So come back over to Fusion, C on the keyboard for circle. Make sure you see the box appear. And we're not going to be too picky. We're just going to pick any size we want. So from here, click back on our, as we approach our last slide, this is our self-check. So this is how we are going to be able to confirm that we have all the right constraints in the right place. So to do that, move to the top right corner of the body, which is this part right here, and drag it down and to the left. So we're going to click on this corner and drag over this way. And we want to look and see if the outer circle gets larger and if the shape of the spline is changed. So we want to see if this changes, the spline, and then we should expect this circle to get larger. So what we have to do to make this work is we have to edit the sketch, click on this corner, and we can see that the point changes, but our circle does not. So we got to fix that. We got to figure out why that is. So if we come back over and we go edit sketch, you can take a look and see what we're missing because there's something that's not quite right. Now we can move this point up further. Delete. And we're not going to have the arc intersect. That didn't work. Exit. We're going to go arc, 3 point. We're going to click on the circle below the handle, click on our line, and redraw that. So now if we stop our sketch, we should be able to click on this corner. Now our circle circle size changed. That didn't do us any good because now we're not getting either changing. All right, go back to our edit sketch. And if we highlight or hide that sketch for a second and we come over to our other one, we can hide our second sketch. If I click on this corner, you can see that both the circle gets larger and the handle is modified. If I close this and I open up our, hide this, and come to this one, we see that right now nothing's happening, which is no good. So our second sketch has got some errors in it. We still have our parallel constraints. We have our 6-point handle, two smaller and larger circles. And there's a constraint that we're missing somewhere up in here. That isn't allowing this to work. So this arc constraint, let's take a quick look at what that is in Fusion. We've got our arc constraint, we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4 for these guys. We've got our parallel constraints. We stop our sketch. And now all we get is those lines moving. But when you do the sketching exercise correctly, and you drag this corner, you end up with both of them moving. So what we see that's different is our handle comes down to the arc. That's where they connect. So we come back over, we hide that sketch, we turn on the sketch that does not work, and we go right click, edit sketch, click on this and we hit delete, move this arc further down the body, we use 3-point arc, click on that point, click on that point, something kind of like that. We have a closed body. Then we should be able to stop our sketch. Oop. Stop sketch. We can get our lines to move. So have a try at that. See if you can follow it along and get the sketch to move correctly.